Hello everyone, welcome to the Witching Hour. Today I'll be doing a review and recap of His Dark Materials, Season 1, Episode 2. Per usual, I'll be giving you a spoiler warning. If you haven't watched the show, you might want to before watching this video. I'm loving the appearance of this world, the costumes, the makeup, and the hairstyles. I have no problems at all with the casting so far. I would say the standout actress is Ruth Wilson as the diabolical Mrs. Coulter. She easily pulls off this character that is a strong woman with a healthy dose of psychopathy. For better or worse, Mrs. Coulter has learned to bend the will of men to her own through sheer power and manipulation. Her current goal is to bend Lyra's will and meld her into a little mini Mrs. Coulter, but this feisty preteen eventually proves that her will is stronger. I do have some reservations about the pacing of the show, though. They seem to be rushing us through the book and even a little short jump into the second book. There were several deviations from the book. I didn't have a problem with most of the changes outside of already showing us one of the parallel worlds, and they could have spent more time building up the relationship between Lyra and Mrs. Coulter. It's like, oh, they like each other, and now they don't. They only briefly hit on the point that Pan didn't feel comfortable with Mrs. Coulter from the very beginning. They also didn't show the tension that it caused between Pan and Lyra the way they did in the book, and I think that would have been a good dynamic to show us. Now on to the brief recap. Lyra starts out loving her posh new life with Mrs. Coulter, but it doesn't take long for the cracks to start showing. In the show, Lyra is constantly bugging Mrs. Coulter about Roger, but in the book she barely thinks about him because she's living the good life. It all comes to a head when Mrs. Coulter gets mad at Lyra and her gold monkey attacks Pan, which in turn hurts Lyra. Mrs. Coulter does not stop the attack until Lyra agrees to submit to her demands. But Miss Coulter has an explosive moment where she tells Lyra that Lord Asriel is not her uncle, but he's dear old dad. It's a powerful moment because you can tell that she's quite upset with herself for losing control like this. At this point, who can Lyra trust? The Master tried to poison Lord Asriel. Lord Asriel lied to her about her parents. And Mrs. Coulter has revealed herself to be a mean woman that freaks the hell out if she loses control of any situation. Mrs. Coulter leaves the apartment and Lyra takes that time to snoop and finds that Mrs. Coulter is a part of the General Oblation Board. In the meantime, Mrs. Coulter goes to the group of missing children and tells them that they're going on a trip. She has them write letters to their loved ones. Roger is there and writes one to Lyra, but as soon as Mrs. Coulter leaves, she destroys the letters. Later that same night, there's a dinner party where a journalist lets Lyra in on the fact that not only is Mrs. Coulter a gobbler, she's the lead gobbler. Mrs. Coulter nips that in the bud quickly, and Lord Boreal escorts her out and then kills her. Lyra escapes by climbing out the window and wanders the streets for hours. But during all of this time, the Egyptians are working towards recovering the children. But when they get to an abandoned building where the kids are supposed to be held, they aren't there. But they do find Billy's shirt, so they take the shirt back to Ma Costa to prove to her that the kids are really in London. John Fall and Ma Costa have a tender moment. It's almost too tender. I think that Billy belongs to John Fall. The show closes with Lyra getting kidnapped. I do think that they will continue to deviate from the book throughout the show, but I hope that they keep the spirit of the book alive in the process. Tell me what you think in the comments down below. What do you think about the changes they've made so far to the book, and do you think John Fall is Billy's daddy? If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Bye guys.